នេះជាកម្មវិធីផ្សាយពិសេសរបស់ទូរទស្សន៍អាស៊ីអាគ្នេយ៍
Good morning, and welcome to the conferment of the Honorary Doctoral degree on Professor Klaus Schwab. Before we begin our program, I'd like to invite our guests to please stand up for the national anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. To begin our program, I'd like to invite Dr. Khao Kim Horn, Chairman of the Board of Trustees at the University of Cambodia, to deliver the opening remarks. Dr. Khao.
Professor Klaus Schwab, founder and executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, and of course, Madam, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, a good morning to all of you. We are honored to be here today to celebrate and award a very influential individual. Professor Klaus Schwab, as you will hear soon during the citation, has captivated international leaders in his approach to development. Rather than looking at temporary short-term gains for shareholders, development should be long-term, sustainable, and inclusive. This shift in thinking has helped developing countries around the world, including Cambodia, plan for a better future. The university has had a long history with the Economic Forum. In 2015, UC honored Dr. Philip Rosler, then the Managing Director for the World Economic Forum, with an honorary doctorate in international relations, and listened to him deliver a lecture to our students at the time. We also inaugurated the World Economic Forum Hall on our 9th floor at our main campus here, which serves as a classroom for both undergraduate and graduate students. In 2016, the University of Cambodia translated, of course, with permission, Professor Schwab's book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, into the Khmer language, in order for the local population to have a better understanding and appreciation of the concepts. This book has transformed the way the Cambodian government and, of course, people has looked at toward development. In many government speeches, you will hear high-level leaders talk about the need to adapt and embrace the upcoming technological revolution. Cambodia is taking the fourth industrial revolution very seriously, and we are thankful to Professor Klaus Schwab for that. The World Economic Forum is more than just a few meetings per year with government leaders. WEF organizes and manages dozens of global projects around the world in order to raise the standard in countries, in business, in human resource, in technology, and many more. In Cambodia, for example, WEF runs an accelerator program which aims to improve the skill gap. Closing the global skill gap could add 11.5 trillion US dollars to global GDP by 2028. Education system must adapt in order to address the changing needs of the labor market. Of course, not just in Cambodia or in the region, but around the world also. The Royal Government of Cambodia has begun to invest in Education 4.0, focusing on designing new models of education for the world's fourth industrial revolution. And I must say here that over the past 10 years, and this year also, the national budget that allocated for education and health and the social sector has been increasing substantially. And education is one of the very top budget spending for Cambodia. At the same time, the Cambodian businesses are initiating their own programs aimed at skilling, upskilling, reskilling their workforces, and more broadly, the communities. In September 2021, Cambodia's Closing the Gap, the Skill Gaps Accelerator was announced, and is part of 23 economies taking part of the program. It provides a framework for public-private collaboration to help countries become more inclusive, sustainable, and prosperous. This is what I appreciate most about Professor Klaus Schwab. Not only has he tried to help countries on a macro level prepare for the future, but he works hard to improve the lives of people, particularly young people. Around the world, education is near and dear to my heart, and it's equally very important to Professor Klaus Schwab. He created the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship, a not-for-profit organization which aims to promote social innovation with young entrepreneurs. Professor Klaus Schwab also founded the Forum for Young Global Leaders and the Global Shapers community as accelerators for a dynamic community of exceptional young people with a vision, courage, and influence to drive positive change in the world through public-private cooperation in the global public interest. Of course, today we meet a lot of young people, particularly at the university. By addressing the youth, Professor Klaus Schwab is battling one of the major global problems we face today, and that is inequality. The Royal Government of Cambodia's #1 priority, and has been for more than 30 years already, and that is human resource development. Today, human resource development remains the #1 priority for the Royal Government of Cambodia, which in line with Professor Klaus Schwab's initiatives. The Union of Cambodia is working hard to train our young students to become active participants in the labor force and be ready to adapt to changing technologies. We hold several forums, alumni talks, seminars, distinguished lectures, and more, so that our students feel prepared, empowered, and ready to change the world. Having you here today, Professor Klaus Schwab, motivates our students and our community, and thus we honor to recognize you with this honorary doctorate as a symbol of gratitude. You have greatly impacted Cambodia, and we're looking forward to working with the World Economic Forum to continue to improve the overall business, technology, and human resource environment in the nation. We're looking forward to your distinguished lecture and learning more about how Cambodia can take advantage of the fourth industrial revolution and leapfrog. With that, we sincerely thank you for you coming here today, this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Cao, for your remarks. Now I'd like to invite Professor Dr. Angus Monroe, the Vice President for Research, Development, and Policies, to read the citation for the UC Honorary Doctoral Degree recipient, Professor Klaus Schwab. Dr. Monroe.
Thank you, Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. Professor Klaus Schwab was born in Ravensburg, Germany in 1938. After schooling mainly in West Germany, he went to study mechanical engineering at the Swiss Federal Institute of Technology in Zurich, where he graduated with a doctorate in 1966, based on a dissertation on the economic and business aspects of mechanical engineering. This came to reflect the future course of Professor Schwab's career. Thus, he was awarded a doctorate in economics from the University of Freiburg in Switzerland in 1967. He also holds a Master of Public Administration from the John F. Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University in the same year. In 1972, Dr. Schwab was appointed as a professor of business policy at the University of Geneva. Although he stepped down in 2003, he still holds a position of honorary professor there. During his time at the University of Geneva, he developed a methodology to assess countries' competitiveness in terms of productivity and economic growth, including various sustainability indices. This has resulted in the production of an annual global competitiveness report since 1979, produced by a large team of economists. Relating to this pioneering work, he has served as a member of the United Nations High-Level Advisory Board on Sustainable Development between 1993 and 95, and thereafter as Vice Chairman of the United Nations Committee for Development Planning between 1996 and 98. Prior to joining the University of Geneva, Professor Schwab had established the European Management Forum in 1971. This was subsequently renamed the World Economic Forum, WEF, in 1987. This annual meeting serves as a means for the business elite and top members of government, among others, to meet and attend presentations and otherwise network with each other. The motto of the WEF is committed to improving the state of the world. It has been a pioneer of the stakeholder concept of company governance. Rather than meeting the short-term interests of shareholders through the paying out of dividends, companies need to recognize that they have a corporate responsibility to society at large. Thus, they need to recognize that their actions have direct and indirect impact on others, including through the effects on the physical and social environments. Thus, the WEF aims to bring together not only those government and business leaders, but also representatives from civil society, including the likes of NGOs, who, along with the upcoming generation of youth, are also stakeholders in the future of the fate of the planet as a whole and/or different communities therein. Building on this, Professor Schwab and his wife Hilda, whom he married in 1971, co-founded the Schwab Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship in 1998. This not-for-profit organization based in Geneva aims to promote social innovation. Each year it runs a global social entrepreneur of the year competition from which 20 to 25 budding social entrepreneurs under the age of 40 are selected. They are expected to work together as a team in order to share ideas and attract external funding to support the development of these ideas. Furthering this aim to develop the next generation of leaders, Professor Schwab founded the Forum for Young Global Leaders in 2004 and the Global Shapers Community in 2011. These aim to serve as accelerators for a dynamic community of exceptional people with the vision, courage, and influence to drive positive change in the world through public-private cooperation in the global public interest. Professor Schwab is perhaps best known to the public at large as the author of The Fourth Industrial Revolution, a book published in 2016. Whilst the first of such revolution rested on steam-powered factories, and the second on the application of science to mass production and manufacturing, the development and widespread availability of digital technologies drove the third industrial revolution. Building upon this, we are now going through a fourth revolution, which is being directly driven largely by the convergence of digital, biological, and physical innovations, including what some might consider the brave new world of artificial intelligence and the Internet of Things. Given the many uncertainties in the way ahead, his organization has established experts in a network of global future councils dedicated to exploring the issues arising out of the inexorable advance of new technological innovations in order to anticipate potential problems for humankind, and thus propose various solutions so as to best capitalize on the inevitable major social disruption and reorganization which is underway. Since then, Professor Schwab has been senior author on several books. One, COVID-19, The Great Reset, was published in 2020 and took an optimistic view that the viral pandemic might serve as a tipping point towards a more stakeholder-driven society. Another, published this year, has taken a more pessimistic perspective. The Great Narrative takes a view that humanity is doing too little too late to avoid the multiple issues we are facing as a global society. Among other awards for activities in the world stage, Professor Schwab has been confirmed with many top honours, including the French Légion d'honneur Knight distinction, and being knighted by Queen Elizabeth II as a Knight Commander of the Order of St. Michael and St. George. In addition, he has received many honorary doctorates, including one in economics from Vietnam National University, and others in business administration from Chulalongkorn University in Thailand and the National University of Singapore. The University of Cambodia is proud to be added to this list of accolades with an honorary doctorate. The citation for our honorary doctorate to Professor Schwab reads as follows: "You have helped to pioneer a critical re-evaluation of the role of finance in corporate development. Thus, you have promoted the need to involve all stakeholders for the longer term rather than fulfilling the short-term interests of shareholders. To this end, you have strategically used the World Economic Forum and other spin-off initiatives to promote greater equality in the face of growing inequality, both locally and globally, including the need to involve youth as future leaders, innovators and pioneers. At one level, through your research and documentation of the ongoing Fourth Industrial Revolution, you have sought to anticipate and better prepare the global citizenry for its multifarious challenges and consequences. Finally, at the same time, you have sought to actively promote the need to attempt to contain the many other deep-seated issues and problems which threaten the public good as well as continuance of society both at national and international levels as we know it. Thank you.
So now I'd like to invite Dr. Kalkim Horn and Professor Klaus Schwab to the front of the stage to confer their honorary doctoral degree. I'd like to invite Mr. Kalkim Penh to deliver the first bouquet of flowers to our honorary doctoral recipient. And Madame Schwab, can you also come to the stage to deliver the flowers? Thank you. So now I'd like to invite our recipient, Professor Klaus Schwab, to deliver his acceptance speech, and as well he'll give a distinguished lecture on the topic, how can Cambodia master the Fourth Industrial Revolution and use it to leapfrog stages of development? Professor Schwab, the stage is yours.
Your Excellency, Dr. Horn, founder and president of the University of Cambodia and minister attached to the Prime Minister of the Kingdom of Cambodia. Dr. Monroe, Vice President of the University. Dear students, I'm so proud to be here. And I have prepared, of course, a speech, but having been a professor for 32 years, I feel so comfortable together with you, the young generation, so I will forget my notes and will speak freely about the issue how Cambodia can leapfrog into the Fourth Industrial Revolution. But before doing so, I want to express my appreciation and my gratitude, Your Excellency, for the cooperation which we have established with Cambodia, the World Economic Forum has established with Cambodia now since many years. Expressed in delegations in Davos and in our different events. But the World Economic Forum is not just events. It's mainly consisting in bringing together the stakeholders, as it was mentioned, of global society to work together to address the key issues in our world. For example, the environment, or for example, at the forthcoming, just to give one example, out of 100 different initiatives which the Forum at the moment pursues, next week, together with the G20 presidency, we will announce the creation of an O20 which will take care better of our oceans. Talking about the stakeholder concept, which was always the driving force in my life, I have to stress It's not only governments and business and civil society who have to work together in order to meet the many challenges which we have in our world. No, we have to integrate the young generation. Just imagine, half of the global population is less than 30 years old. And it's you who will be the driving force for change, for positive change, for improving the state of the world, as we say. It's you, the young generation. Now, how can Cambodia leapfrog into the age of the fourth industrial revolution? Let me take first a very short historical analysis, make a historical analysis. Of course, we all know the first industrial revolution took place around 1820, 1840, with the invention of the steam engine. And it had a tremendous impact because it revolutionized at that time the textile industry. It created new industries like railways. And then we had the second industrial revolution, which started in the United States, particularly with the invention of electricity, with mass production. You remember, no, it was much before you were born, the Ford T model, the first demonstration of global mass production of an industrial product. So the second industrial revolution brought us the mass consumption and the mass production. And the third industrial revolution came with the invention of the computer. Actually, it opened the door to what we call today the digital innovation. And the third technological innovation, industrial innovation or revolution, happened in the 1950s, 1960s, and 1970s. And now we are in the midst of the fourth industrial revolution. When I wrote my book, and I coined this expression of the fourth industrial revolution just 6 years ago, and I'm so proud, Your Excellency, Minister, said it has been translated into Khmer language. And when you look at the book, it describes 23 new technologies. And when the book came out 5, 6 years ago, people said many of those technologies are science fiction. And if we look at those technologies today, they have become reality and they are already part of our daily lives. Now, the fourth industrial revolution is different from the first three. And there are three reasons. The first one is the scope. It's not just one technology which came into being. No, we have artificial intelligence, we have genetics, and I could go on and on. And even today, if I look at the 23 new technologies, there are new ones I didn't know about, or they were not really investigated 4 or 5 years ago, like quantum computing, or the metaverse, or synthetic biology. So, coming to the second difference, the development of those new technologies, the development of the fourth industrial revolution is much faster compared to the previous ones. And when you look at the development of a technology, usually they follow an S-curve. And we are at the moment at the inflection point where the development of those technologies becomes exponential. Now, the third difference is the impact those technologies have. Whereas the first three technologies changed mainly how we were doing things, helping us to do things in an easier way, in a cheaper way. The new technologies are a fusion of the physical, of our biological, and of our digital world. Just think of implants, for example. So the impact of those technologies on our daily life in the future, on business life, is much bigger compared to the previous ones. And how it changes us, it changes not just what we are doing, it changes us. I give you an example. Even the third industrial revolution, with the creation of the digital world and the internet, and the creation of social media, changed how you communicate and to an extent also changed how you are thinking. The issue and the challenge of the fourth industrial revolution is that those who are first mover usually are the winners and take it. They have the competitive advantage which cannot be matched very easily by those who try to copy those technologies. Just think of a steam engine or even a computer. You could copy, but artificial intelligence, first to understand what it is, and second to copy it, is much more difficult. So we have the phenomenon, the winner takes it all, on a global level, and therefore you see the competition among nations, and particularly between the two superpowers. Who will be the master of the fourth industrial revolution in the future? But the same happens on an industry level. Look at companies like Google or whatever it is, Microsoft, how difficult it is to compete with those companies because they have gained a positioning of leadership in a specific technology in the fourth industrial revolution. Now, what does it mean for a country like Cambodia? The advice is not easy to be given because the fourth industrial revolution to be thriving requires a whole system which facilitates and nourishes this revolution. First, it's the attitude of people towards change. Since, and I see it in many countries, in many industrialized countries, I see with the older population, I see the fear because people cannot understand really what is the cryptocurrency, what is blockchain, how does artificial intelligence work. So people have a certain fear of the fourth industrial revolution. And I think the first necessary step to embrace the fourth industrial revolution is to take away this fear and to see the technological progress as a progress, which means as a means to improve our lives and our livelihoods. So there is one wish I have towards you, for you. You are the young generation. You understand to a certain extent those new technologies. In the old times, it was the older generation who mentored the younger generation. But today, I think it's you who have to explain to the older generation what's really happening and to mentor the older generation. If I have a problem with my iPad and I'm at home, I'm not calling our technical staff. I'm calling my grandson, and he will solve the problem in a very speedy way. So that's the first one. Embrace the fourth industrial revolution. Second, in order to succeed in the fourth industrial revolution, it requires talents. And you here in the room, those who have the chance to study at the University of Cambodia, are fortunate because they represent the future talents of this country. Talents. And it is the task of a government today, if it wants to catch up with the fourth industrial revolution, to cultivate talents as much as possible. And here, of course, gender parity is a very important factor, because we cannot neglect any talent inside the population. Another important factor for a country is that talents, if they have an idea and they create a new company, a new venture, they have access to venture capital. And I'm very pleased when I prepared myself for this speech, I have seen that the first venture capital companies have been created in Cambodia to support innovators and entrepreneurs. And of course, there are many other factors. A good university system, which is needed. A tax system, which encourages entrepreneurial activities. And I should add, I think very important is also a government which acts as an example for the digital age. I just would refer to one of the Baltic countries in Europe where 95% of all communications, all requests and so on is now done digitally. So we need a digital society, we need entrepreneurs, we need the cultivation of digital skills. I'm very proud to say that the World Economic Forum, one of those 100 different initiatives is, for example, the commitment to train 1 billion people, and I hope as many as possible in Cambodia, in the next 10 years, in digital skills, to equip them with the necessary tools which we need for the workforce for tomorrow. So, in order to create, we don't have to create today in the global world a local system, a Silicon Valley system. I think in a globalized world where you have access to knowledge from around the world, I think every country can succeed, but it has to create the necessary preconditions. And I know that Cambodia is on the best way to create those conditions. Now you may ask yourself, can I really become an entrepreneur? Can I become an innovator in the fourth industrial revolution? Of course, not anybody can become a platform innovator like Facebook and other platforms. But there's already quite an opportunity to use those platforms for innovations or to copy for example, certain applications which have proven successful somewhere else and to adapt them to national conditions. The World Economic Forum, for example, has an initiative which is called the Edison Initiative. We work together with major companies to see, now everybody has a mobile phone, how we can also create functionalities in this form, in this technology. How can you use the mobile access to address specific issues of developing nations? For example, what are specific applications in the agricultural area to ensure that the farmer has best knowledge about weather conditions, has best advice, has best access to the markets, and so on. So that's another area to find applications for existing networks and to adapt them to the country. Another form of entrepreneurship, which is particularly close to the hearts of my wife Hilde and myself, and that's the reason, as it was mentioned, why we created the Foundation for Social Entrepreneurship, is innovation in a social sense. When we talk about entrepreneurs, innovators, it's not only to innovate products and services and let's say industrial processes. No, particularly a country which is evolving needs social innovation on the ground. And for me, and for my wife Hilde, those are the real heroes. People who do not just dream of becoming, as you say now, young, small Bill Gates. No, people who dream to be social innovators and to serve society. One other very important type of entrepreneurship, particularly coming back to the theme of my speech, how to leapfrog Cambodia into the age of the fourth industrial revolution. It does not mean that you have to jump if you use the word leapfrog. No. Cambodia still has to catch up in the second industrial revolution to create a stronger industry base. In the third industrial revolution, to really enter the digital age. And the fourth industrial revolution helps very often to expedite the development in the second and in the third industrial revolution. Just take the applications of the fourth industrial revolution to the textile industry. The textile industry will be completely different from the past, using technologies, process technologies, design technologies, for example, based on artificial intelligence. So, when we talk about leapfrogging, I would say how to use the fourth industrial revolution to create strong progress for a country like Cambodia, in addition to the second and to the third industrial revolution. Now, let me come to a conclusion and to give you some advice. Let me ask you, I have a question to you. Who would like to become an entrepreneur and to create his own enterprise? Please raise your hand. I would encourage you all to become entrepreneurs if you want to drive this country, or to serve even as entrepreneurs in the government or in other functions. It doesn't, to be an entrepreneur, to be an innovator, does not mean that you have to be independent. You can do it inside existing organizations. Now, what does it mean to become an entrepreneur or a successful innovator, to apply the fourth industrial revolution? It needs the 4 Ps, big Ps. First, you have to be a professional. You have to know what you are doing. Hopefully knowing better than everybody else. Second, you have to have a purpose. What actually do you want to achieve? And number 3, you have to have passion. Otherwise you will not be successful. And finally, you have to have perseverance. I have to confess to you that I'm standing here not just as a professor, not just as a chairman, executive chairman of the World Economic Forum, but also as an entrepreneur. And I will give you an example. And I will illustrate the 4 Ps. 18 months ago, I heard for the first time about this new technology, the metaverse. And having written the book about the fourth industrial revolution, of course I became interested. What is this new technology? How does it fit into the fourth industrial revolution? And then I wanted to become the best knowledgeable person about the metaverse. So I asked, because I felt this could be something which even on a traditional organization which is based on coming together, meetings, task forces, working together, this technology could be revolutionary. So I asked everybody, what is the metaverse? Nobody could really explain to me until I understood. It's very simple. It's actually the three-dimensional internet, which means a virtual internet, three-dimensional, into which you could immerse. So you could have a room inside which you could organize meetings. So that's the first P, I became knowledgeable about it, together with my colleagues. But then the second P is the purpose. So how could I use this technology? And I think this is the question we all have to have with the emergence of so many technologies, to ask ourselves continuously, how could this technology change what we are producing, what we are consuming, how we communicate? So I was thinking, how can this technology have an impact on a very traditional organization like the World Economic Forum? And I said, the impact could be huge, because in the future people may less travel in order not to pollute the environment, in order to meet in much easier ways. So the purpose for me was to create a metaverse or a three-dimensional immersive complement to what the World Economic Forum is doing today. That's the second. I defined the purpose. Then you have a third P, which is the passion. Of course, when you are doing something which is new, you have to be passionate about it, even if people tell you, look, this is technology which will be impactful only in 10 years from now. No, you have to feel an inner passion. And finally, perseverance. Of course, you see now the first pioneers like Meta, Facebook, having tremendous difficulties. I think the company announced yesterday that they will lay off 10,000 people. But nevertheless, this technology will come, and it will come sooner than what we have thought of. So I just wanted to illustrate to you how you have to embrace a new technology, how you have to think, what is the impact on what I'm doing, and then it's better to be first mover compared to be too late. Now, let me come back to my role as the chairman of the World Economic Forum. We are, at the moment, living in a very difficult situation. We have many challenges in the world. The world is restructuring itself politically, economically, hopefully also environmentally. But I'm a big believer that when we work all together, not only all countries together, but all stakeholders of global society together, governments, business, civil society, and the young generation, I think we can create a world, a better world, which is more sustainable, more resilient, and more inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Schwab, for that. Now, to conclude our ceremony, I'd like to invite Dr. Cao Kim Horn, the chairman of the Board of Trustees at the University of Cambodia, to deliver the closing remarks. Dr. Cao.
Well, indeed, a very inspiring lecture. And I must say four things from this powerful lecture. One, of course, we all know that the World Economic Forum has a true power, the convening power. Every year, as leaders in government, leaders in business, leaders in civil society, leaders in media, among others, that they go to Davos to meet and, of course, to interact. It reflects the convening power of the World Economic Forum, of course, that inspire and lead by Professor Klaus Schwab and his team. Second, of course, what I heard this morning, of course, I will share with all of you that the message is very clear to the young people here in Cambodia, at this university, and of course around the world, because as your speech has been broadcast live by Southeast Asia television, but also streamlined on social media. The young people have the best ahead. And I like very much the message that everyone can be entrepreneur. And the 4 Ps that has been easily mentioned, but also memorized, but also very powerful, the 4 Ps. Yeah, I like very much, of course, the profession, the purpose, the passion, and the perseverance. I think I fully agree that if you have these 4 Ps in whatever you do, you'll be successful. I also very much learned so much in a very short lecture, the essence of the Industrial Revolution, the 4 stages. and particularly with the emphasis on the current, the fourth industrial revolution. That's really changing our world. And that's why I think the young people have so much to benefit, to take advantage. And I think this is a clear message for the young people, particularly our students at the university. And finally, as we close up our meeting this morning, and of course this program, that we honor the founder of the World Economic Forum, Professor Klaus Schwab, of course with the President, Madam. I think at the end of the day it's about the intellectual power, ideas, the talents, the university that produce or work to produce the true talents. And that's very much in line with our Prime Minister's thinking also, that we must invest in our people. And that's the number one priority. It has always been the people at the heart. And I think it's also in ASEAN, because as Cambodia, as the chair of ASEAN for 2022, and leaders, and you are of course one of the leaders that are welcome here in Cambodia. And our Prime Minister's emphasis is on the people. At the end of the day, we must invest in our people. The people must be the asset rather than the liability. With that, on behalf of the University of Cambodia, the Board of Trustees, the management team, staff, faculty, and students, of course, on behalf of us, we are truly and deeply grateful for Professor Klaus Schwab and Madame and his delegation to be here with the University of Cambodia this morning. And of course, to be in Cambodia, we are indeed an honor to have you present. Thank you very much, and a good morning to all of you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Cao. So we're going to do 2 group pictures. So first, can I ask Dr. Cao to come up with Professor Schwab and Madame as well to the front of the stage? The 3 of you will take 1 picture. Now I'd like to ask the UC management team to please join them. Okay, thank you very much. This marks the conclusion of our event. For students, I have some good news. There are refreshments, so food and drinks, in the UC building. So make sure you go and enjoy your nice breakfast, early lunch. Thank you very much.
Turtu Asia Kni, Oprum, Mopatwa, Podmin,